finally got it. I finally got it. 10 weeks. I got my name and number. Woo! Maple Leaf America. It's coming back. Welcome back to Maple Leaf America. I'm standing in Bristol, Connecticut, on the campus of ESPN, the self-proclaimed worldwide leader in sports. And in fact, it is the largest sports network in the universe. One of the on-air mainstays here is a former Maple Leaf, former NHL player, NHL coach, and now a TV celeb. His name is Barry Melrose. Among U.S. hockey fans, Barry Melrose was known as a player, well known as a coach, and is now famous as a broadcaster.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's probably true. I was a journeyman defenseman for Winnipeg, Toronto, and Detroit. I was stuck with a lot of bad defensemen. I had to play with Salming a lot in Toronto, and how are you going to ever reach your potential playing with him? So, but yeah, and then with LA, going to the finals and coaching Gretzky, you get a lot of ink, and then being on ESPN, everybody's got ESPN in their house, and so yeah, it's probably a fair assessment of my career.
Coming out of Kamloops in 1976, Melrose was drafted by the Montreal Canadiens with the 36th overall pick. He never played for the Habs. Instead, he was drafted and signed by the Stingers of the World Hockey Association. He'd play 3 seasons in the upstart WHA.
I always said when I started coaching that I could never have played for me, because I really like fast guys that move the puck and were aggressive. So I was slow, didn't handle the puck really well, but I worked really hard. I tried really hard. I was a total team player. So those aspects of me I would like as a coach, but my talent level, I don't think I would have been good enough to play for the teams that I coached over the years.
His first NHL experience came with the Winnipeg Jets in 79-80. In November of 80, he joined the Maple Leafs, where he'd spend most of the next 3 seasons.
Well, I grew up in Saskatchewan, and Hockey Night in Canada, we got our chores done and we got the popcorn ready, and the games always started halfway through the first period. Again, the West was always given short change from the East, so our games were always halfway through the first period. And I was always a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. I hated Montreal with a passion. I loved, and again, I was drafted by Montreal, of course, but I loved Toronto. I knew the lineups in '67. I could give you the whole lineup, the Maple Leafs. So a big history buff of the Leafs and their history. So the night that I played my first game in Maple Leaf Gardens was by far the most nervous I've ever been in my life. To wear the jerseys that night and to play in Maple Leaf Gardens. And I got a fight in 6 seconds, and I scored a shorthanded goal that night. We were playing Pittsburgh. So that was an awesome night.
We only got one piece of video from Maple Leafs Network.
I know.
Out of the archives, and it was you dumping a guy and then sitting in the penalty box.
Yeah, I think I played aggressive, and the refs were against me, just like they were when I coached. They were always trying to shaft me when I was a player. So I took a lot of penalties, but I played aggressive, and I knew I had to do that to stay with Toronto and stay in the NHL. And but I'm disappointed that John Shannon couldn't have scraped together some more video than just me taking a penalty.
Barry wrapped up his playing career with a year in Detroit of the NHL, to a year with Adirondack in the American League, then back to Detroit, then back to Adirondack. In 1987, Melrose jumped into and was immediately successful with his coaching career. He won a Memorial Cup with Medicine Hat in '87-'88. He won a Calder Cup back in Adirondack, coaching the Red Wings' top farm club in 1991.
We moved 3 times in 5 years, and I had young children. We moved from Medicine Hat to Seattle, Seattle to Adirondack, Adirondack to LA, LA back to Adirondack. So Adirondack was still sort of our home. Our kids had went to school there. They still had friends there. We knew people there. So when I came back to work with ESPN, we said, look, let's give our kids some kind of stability. We love the area. We're going to live there, and I'll commute. And it's been hard at times. There's been a few nights in blizzards that I've driven home. I was the only guy on the road, but I always buy a big truck and a big 4-wheel drive, and it works out well. So my family has been able to stay in one place for 7 years, which is very, very rare in the hockey world.
As a resident of Los Angeles and coach of the Kings, Melrose, with the help of a guy named Gretzky, led the club to the NHL Finals in 1993. A unique coaching triple crown awaited. but the Kings lost the series they should have won, following one of the biggest turning points in Stanley Cup history.
First of all, I'd like to talk about the Toronto series. I think you're glossing over that being the Toronto Maple Leaf Network. Everybody thought it was going to be Toronto, Montreal, Canada finals for the Stanley Cup. And that Game 6 in LA, they won Game 5 in overtime. Glenn Anderson scored the winner. They come back, Game 6 goes into overtime, Gretzky scores the winner. And then Game 7 in Toronto. I still think that's one of the greatest series. I think that series had one of the last great fights of the Stanley Cup playoffs in it, Marty and Wendell. It had everything. It had Canada against the United States. It had Gretzky playing again. And that Game 7 in Toronto was such an awesome game. And then Gretzky gets a hat trick where everybody in Toronto was writing that he was done. So I had to get that out of the way. And then we go to Montreal. We won Game 1. We were playing great. We were playing just great. Won Game 1, leading Game 2 with 1 minute and 35 seconds left, I believe. And that's when they checked Marty's stick. And I always remember they took it over to the penalty box, and Luke was over there. Luke Robitaille was over there. He was an assistant captain. He was checking the measurement out. So they checked the measurement, and so Luke comes back to the bench, and I said, "Was it over?" And Luke started laughing. But then I knew we were done. So the ends almost touched on Marty's stick. It was so far over. So they scored a goal. They pulled the goalie and scored a tying goal. And then they came out, and I remember it was a dump in around the boards, and it hit one of the glass partitions. And Kelly thought it was going to go around the net, and came right back to Desjardins. He was the only guy on the ice that had saw it. He dumped it in, and he got the rebound. He wired it by Kelly. So it was 1-1, but we still felt good about ourselves. We'd outplayed them 2 games in a row, and we're going back to LA. So we still thought we would win the Stanley Cup.
Is that the fault of the equipment guy or of Marty or both or what?
No, that's the coach's fault. Anything that happens on the bench is the coach's fault.
Melrose was fired by the Kings after 2.5 seasons. The question he's now most often asked, when do you go back behind the bench?
I would like to coach again. My kids are at the age now that my wife and I could move and we wouldn't disrupt their lives. Matter of fact, they don't even know we're alive anymore. So they don't care where we work as long as the money is there. And I would like to coach again. It's always in your blood. You always feel that you can coach. You always want to be challenged. I love what I'm doing. And the one thing that's made it easy for me to pick and choose if I want to coach again is working here, because it's a great organization. I get paid to talk about hockey. That's an awesome job.
Despite being a Canadian, a marginal defenseman, which Leaf fans used to just, razz him to death from the stands of Maple Leaf Gardens for his extremely inadequate play as a member of the Maple Leafs. Despite all that, he is very fun, very, very much fun to work with. Again, the mullet, there's just so many things to overcome working with Barry. But overall, I would say it's marginally positive.
What do you take the most crap for? The do, the laugh, or your grasp of the English language sometimes?
Well, no, it's the hair, without a doubt. Yeah, and it's usually guys with no hair that bug me about having hair. If you notice that, it's always the guys with no hair that bug guys with hair.
Forget player, coach, TV celeb. Barry Melrose is a hockey icon.
I just can't seem to, every time it grows out, it just gets uneven. It's not good. We're going to have more from Barry and John and the boys from NHL Tonight later in the program, as well as a lot of other cool stuff on this final edition of Maple Leaf America. Welcome back to Maple Leaf America. My privilege to be sitting next to the second oldest trophy in professional hockey, the Calder Cup, presented to the International American Hockey League as a championship trophy by Frank Calder, 1938. They hoisted it. It weighs about 50 pounds. It's a big one. Hall of Famers all over this, just like all over the Stanley Cup. The Calder Cup goes to the winner, of course, of the American Hockey League. We're in the American Hockey League headquarters. It's the second best hockey league in the world. Do you guys view yourselves as the second best hockey league in the world?
We are.
You are? No, I mean,
Yeah.
compared to all the European and all that good stuff, no questions?
Close. Not even close.
Really?
Yeah, we pride ourselves on being the second best league in the world, and as a matter of fact, we've been there for 66 years.
Hockey fans agree. For the first time in American Hockey League history, more than 5 million fans have attended AHL games in a single season.
We have every NHL affiliation, their primary affiliation. There's been over 330 call-ups this year, 330 players going back and forth. And that's going to change. We're at the trade deadline, so that's going to change in the next couple days, but that'll go even higher.
The AHL is almost as old as the NHL. For 66 years, this top farm league has handed out the Calder Cup, named after Frank Calder, the NHL's first president. The two league histories are intertwined. 17 members of the Hockey Hall of Fame have won the Calder Cup. Obviously, hundreds and hundreds of American leaguers have gone on to play in the NHL over the years. Distinguished executives and coaches have enjoyed the AHL as a stepping stone to hockey's highest level as well. Current NHL bench bosses Bob Hartley, Bill Barber, and Barry Trotz all won Calder Cups.
We really went about it working with the NHL parent teams, working with the NHL itself as a parent organization, worked very closely with Gary Bettman and his group to make sure that we managed our business very effectively. It's unfortunate in the IHL's demise. It was a great league for many, many years. The AHL absorbed a number of their franchises, brought in Chicago and Utah, Houston, Winnipeg, and others. And now it's a 27-team league, and I'm sure there'll be 30 teams to match the NHL very soon.
AHL stock, if you will, is at an all-time high, having absorbed 6 teams from its main competitor, the now-defunct IHL. With 27 unique markets, some small, some medium, and others very large, the AHL publicity approach must be unique and tailored.
At the league office, we try to focus more on the national level in the U.S. and in Canada, and pretty much leave local markets up to the individual teams. So they get to know their own newspaper writers and their own TV stations and deal with them directly on a daily basis, more so than we do at the league office. So we try to work more with ESPN and USA Today and more on a national level.
Want to save a few bucks and see great hockey? Skip an NHL night or two and swing by your local neighborhood AHL rink. Heck, it's the second best hockey league in the world. Great hockey in the American League and very nice people at the league office. We appreciate their assistance. Here we are on the road again. Myself and co-producer Dave Falcone have logged hundreds, actually thousands and thousands of miles via airplane and in vehicles just like this beautiful 1992 Saab. We're going down South 91, that's Interstate 91, just crossed from Massachusetts, Connecticut, for this week's travelogue, our final travelogue of this season. We're going to the National Bottle Museum. Thirsty, anyone? Walk in here and feel parched. Empties all over. But not just any empties. Hand-blown historical bottles from the last 3 centuries from all over the USA and the world.
Personally, I like the great big demijohns that can hold 10 gallons or more. And they were bottles that were still blown with a blowpipe right until 1920. And they were made for anything that they wanted to store or ship in bulk. And they would weave baskets around them, or they would build wooden crates around them so they could ride on open railroad cars. And they put anything in them from seeds to oils to almost anything.
These bottles held anything from snake oils to whiskeys to laxatives. Many of them held spring water from nearby Saratoga and mineral water from right here in Ballston Spa. Thus, the location of the museum. Millions of handmade bottles a year were produced nearby for more than a century. The high temperatures and the chemicals involved in the process made early bottle making treacherous.
They say even Tiffany died from the coloring that he used in his stained glass. These are formulas that he did himself, that he created himself, and they think he may have died from those.
Collectors spend lots of money to get a hold of these works of art. Museum members dwell in 46 of the 50 states, Canada, Australia, etc.
We don't appraise bottles. We're more interested in the history, so the bottles that you're looking at could be worth anywhere from $2 to several thousand. And we will even, in a display like this, put repros along with the originals for reasons of security. But people do invest in them. I've seen a bottle go for $40,000. I've seen a bottle go for $60,000. Unfortunately, no one has given us any of those.
Don't let her mislead. This is one of the finest collection of bottles anywhere, and it belongs to everyone. Nothing like a little water, refresh. Tastes better though. It was out of a glass bottle. Hey! Oh, sorry. Good thing it wasn't a bottle. See you in a bit. Welcome back to Maple Leaf America on the set of the USA's #1 hardcore hockey program. Well, it's actually the USA's only hardcore hockey program. With hosts the bodacious John Buccigross, the Bubba-licious Barry Melrose, and the loquacious Neil Smith. It is the NHL tonight. Tune into most sports shows in the U.S., including those on ESPN, and you'll find hockey taking a back seat to most everything else. Thank goodness there's NHL tonight.
Hockey fans are as devout and loyal as any fan. They know they're not getting their coverage elsewhere in the country on the major sports shows. So to have a show of their own every night with people they know, caring, loving, and giving, they do watch, they do stay loyal, and that is what makes us good. We're there every night for the faithful who want us.
What network bigwigs want is more revenue. And with ad dollars falling after September 11th, producers need to find new ways to bring in a bigger audience. For NHL Tonight, it means mainstreaming a hardcore show.
You guys think we should go to Philadelphia? Talk about Oates deal?
Yeah.
Or should we do the Devils deal?
I think the O's just
Neither of them play tonight, so.
Right.
Yeah, because it plays off Rona because Rona got hurt last night, and then we can get an update on that.
Okay.
Sort of keeping it simple, but not dumbing it down. You know, not making the hardcore people feel like, boy, they're really A, B, C on everything. You know, let us set up, okay, here's who was traded, here's our analyst. Why is that important? What does this guy bring? What does this team lose? Is this the right deal? I mean, tonight we're going to have Neil Smith with us as well. Great perspective from a former NHL GM. Rangers making huge deals. Hey, Neil, you know that organization inside and out. You know what they gave up. You know what they needed. Does this work? Does it not work? But again, you can't get too inside it. You have to stay at a level where everybody's going to get what you're talking about.
Hopefully the Olympics helps a little. We have been trying to do more things off the ice. We've done some things incorporating the ESPN zone to try and get players out of uniform, away from the rink, to open up a little bit, show they're human. I mean, the hockey player is a personable, terrific person, a lot better than some other sports athletes. We've tried to incorporate that a little bit more this year. Tried to push the stars a little bit more.
The regular stars of the show are Melrose and longtime host John Buccigross. They keep it informative, yet lighthearted and fun.
Does this mean he won't be on NHL Tonight come playoff time? Hey, does that mean I get to come over and hang out with you guys?
Guys, remember, we got highlights to show and more trades to announce, so let's get started. NHL Tonight, right now.
Butchie is a master ad-libber, and like the entire staff, he really knows his hockey.
So the first thing we want from you out is other teams that are in the that were in the Bure thing. We're doing that when we start taping tonight.
Other teams.
Yeah. Who else was in the process? Is there anybody else serious?
I heard that New Jersey sniffed around some and Dallas backed out early.
Okay. Well, then that makes sense.
A lot of people at ESPN use specialty shows as a springboard to get to SportsCenter. I like what I do. I'd like to do NHL Tonight for 10, 15 more years. There's nothing I'd rather do at ESPN than NHL Tonight.
Today happened to be NHL trade deadline day. More work, more digesting and dissecting of material.
Having a pretty good offensive year, 22 goals in 63 games. Why does he keep getting dealt?
Well, this is the second time two smart hockey men have traded on us. Glenn Sather traded him at one time, and now Lou Lamoriello's traded him. There's got to be something more than meets the eye, because this guy's got everything. He's 6'4", he's tough, he has scored, he won a Stanley Cup. He is the best player in the deal because of his age. He's younger than Nieuwendyk. Nieuwendyk's won the Conn Smythe, so certainly has played great in the playoffs. Nieuwendyk will go play with Elias Zakora. That'll be an excellent line. Langenbrunner certainly fits into the Devil style. Randy McKay's a warrior. He'll fit into the Dallas style. But again, Arnott can play wing. He can play center. So you can either move Modano to the wing and have Arnott as center, or vice versa.
The Devils also got Stéphane Richer. Of course, he won the Cup with the Devils.
Who says you can't go home again?
They got him from the Penguins for a 7th rounder. More trade info ahead. Plus, Neil and Barry give us their winners and losers.
Intense coverage is old hat for ESPN. They've created sport-specific properties in all the major sports. NBA tonight, baseball tonight, RPM tonight, etc. But who cares about that? As long as hockey fans are taken care of.
Take a look at this move. This guy's great. Susie playing great under the arm of Blackburn.
You can't get that high with that voice.
Yeah, well, I got a manly voice.
Leach!
No problem with your voice.
Marcus Naslund the other way. Looking for Bertuzzi. Whoop! Hat trick! What Ryan Peake is to Nickelback, Todd Bertuzzi is to the Canucks. Isles have 15 games to go. They need some points. They are a playoff team, but they're dropping. Matt Sundin out of the box. Gets the puck. This guy's an MVP candidate, Neil.
Definitely. This guy, where would Toronto be without him?
Well, right now they're up 1-0 because of him. 2-2 overtime. Travis Green puts it in front. Look at Corey Cross win the game.
You got to pick Corey Cross up on the slot. You can't leave him standing there.
What Rob Simpson is to Maple Leaf America, Corey Cross is to the Maple Leafs.
I can guarantee you, everybody that does our show, the guys that cut the tapes, the producers, our CPs, everybody loves hockey. Barry Sachs loves hockey. John loves hockey. Julie Mariash loves hockey. All the guys around here love hockey. We've put so many. We don't go on the air till 12:30 at night, so we start watching games at 7 o'clock. So you know, a lot of nights we don't go on till 1:30 if it's after a doubleheader. So if you don't love the sport, that's a long night to be watching TV and talking about hockey.
It's Hockey Night in America, almost every night on NHL Tonight.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you Wednesday night. As we say goodbye, Ray Ferraro, the St. Louis debut.
NHL Tonight is a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
The wonderful world of hockey on television here in the USA. And there's nothing like hockey on television. Of course, hockey in person is better, but hockey and TV, it's what this is all about. It's what we are all about. Hockey, TV, right here, Maple Leaf America. This is our final show. It's been a wonderful season. We'd like to thank everyone back in Toronto at the Maple Leafs Network for their assistance in making this production possible. Happy hockey. Have a great off season.